Welcome to the Julie Laughton Living Podcast, the place to get advice, tips, and tricks to building the life and luxury home of your dreams with 30-year business owner, designer, and builder, Julie Laughton. It all starts with a good plan. This is Julie Laughton Living.
Thank you for joining me in another episode of the Julie Laughton Podcast. Today we're going to talk about how long is this all going to take. So here we go. But before we start, check out my 7 simple steps, because no matter what you do and who you hire, you need to know what you're in for. So if you look at the 7 simple steps and take the little course, the free course, it tells you exactly what to expect. So one of the biggest questions that anybody asks me is, how long is it going to take? And of course, how much is it going to cost? But how long is this going to take? How long am I going to be inconvenienced? When can I move back in? What does it take? How long is it going to cost? It's a constant question. So I always try to summarize it as, I hate to sound terrible, but it's like we're having a baby. The house is like the baby. It's 9 months for a remodel. It's 12 months for new construction. Of course, it's longer for new construction, like a ground up. It's 15 to 18 months, but there's always a time frame depending on the scope of work. And the minute I find out the scope of work, I can tell you the time frame. And that's the first thing you should know, is the time frame, so you can arrange your life. And then you find out the budget, because the budget, is the time frame. But you can't have a budget without plans. So I can't stress enough that 7 simple steps describe the process. And the first part of the process is, it all starts with a good plan, right? If you don't have a Bible or a plan to follow, you're screwed. But the thing is, you start with the plan, and then you get the budget, and then it sets the time frame, and nothing should change unless somebody wants to make changes after the construction starts. Don't do that. So how long it takes? 9 months for remodels, 12 months for new construction in general, or room additions. And then ground up construction is 15 to 18 months. Easy. Hey, if it's a big house, it could be longer, but I'm talking about the average single family home, 3,500 square feet. Okay, so the whole process is based on getting your dreams on paper, developing a plan with all the information in it, and then sticking to that plan. The contractor will develop a schedule and a start date, and he's working off the plans, right? So the only thing that can screw this up is if somebody decides to change their mind after construction starts. Now that leads to changes in the plan, more fees for plans, more delays at the city, delays in construction costs. Look at all those things. 5 things. That's a lot of money. So once you start making changes, if you're the homeowner and you decide you want to change your mind after the construction starts because maybe you didn't pay attention, or you just, oh my God, I never really saw it on paper and now I can see it. That's the fault of your architect and your designer for not doing their due diligence and making you see it and knowing you've seen it and really getting you to see it, which is easy because you do 3D renderings. But if you decide to change your mind after construction starts, good luck. It starts to snowball. So those 5 things that are affected turn into dollars and time. So I encourage you not to make changes after construction starts. The only change after construction is in a remodel when there's literally an unknown that me, the contractor, or your contractor doesn't anticipate or ever forecast or expect to see. But if you beat your contractor up on the price and he lowers the price, boy, there's no buffers for anything. You're paying for every nickel of what's unknown and every dollar. So let your contractor have some buffers, because there's always something. But we don't have a crystal ball, and we can't tear your house apart to find all this before we start. So it's a whole magic to having it bid properly. But don't change your mind after it starts unless it's absolutely necessary. But be ready for some dollar signs. So this whole process, believe it or not, is quite simple to easy to determine. Like everyone asks me, how long does it take, right? And from 35 years of experience, I can kind of tell you how long it's going to take on a typical average basis, with how long the city usually takes, how much weather's going to slow us up, what's going to happen after the demo, if there's unknowns, if it's a remodel. I can kind of factor that all into the piece of paper. But what I can't do is put a GMAX on it. We call it a guaranteed maximum cost and a fixed end date, because nobody can control the unknowns. The unknowns are the city gets delayed because they're overwhelmed or they have too many projects. The weather is extreme. Somebody's sick. The subs are really busy and we can't get them scheduled. There's a holiday in the middle of all this. The weather, again, it's like there could be 4 months delay from weather that you don't anticipate because of the timing of the project. Because if you're doing the outside work and something happens with the weather, even if it happens with crazy rain, easy because you can't predict it. One of the subs gets stuck on another job. You got to wait for him. That happens a lot. I mean, let's say it doesn't happen a lot. It happens when you need that sub for that one sub for something. Like I have a sub now, there's a driller. Can't seem to get out of easy because another job because there's landslides and he's stuck. I mean, it's a whole thing. And he's my only choice for the driller because of the size of his equipment and blah, 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 blah. So we're delayed. But he's my only game in town for what I'm doing because he's the only one in Orange County, Southern California with the piece of equipment I need. So, there's anything easy because that's unknown. You don't know. You can't crapshoot that. So clients have to roll with it. We do know how to project, but we can't control the unknowns, and the unknowns lead to cost because the more we sit there on the job, even though we're not doing anything, we're still running the job. So it costs money. So just think about that and give your contractor a break and let him have the buffers because you need them. So overall, the length of your home construction project, whether it's a remodel or a new build, is easily determined in an outline because you're working with professionals. They know how long it's going to take, and they can tell you the worst case and the quick case, but it's never quick because something always happens, which is an unknown with weather or the city. I mean, my gosh, the city could delay you 6 months. Seriously, because some cities, oh my God, the way they act and the way they process, I should say, their turnaround time can get tripped up by one little change or one little inconvenience and one little planner that maybe marked something wrong, and then you got to go through it all again. So there's all these unknowns, but rely on your professionals to tell you the length of time, and then just have a buffer in there. You got to have a buffer on the unknowns after the project starts, and the length of time cannot be fixed no matter how much you want it, because all you're going to do is drive yourself crazy, stress everybody out, and your expectations, are going to be a problem if you actually expect an end date to be set, because there is no such thing as a set end date in construction. The contractor might luck out, like myself. I'm always on time, and always on budget, but that fixed end date is never actually, the date. It's around that date, and as we move through the project, it's adjusted for the unknowns. In most cases, there's a few unknowns. So it's rely on your professionals for the good outline, but don't beat them up over the end date, because it's impossible to meet a date in residential construction with all the factors involved. So don't forget to check out my 7 simple steps if you're going to enter into a remodel or a new construction projects. They're very helpful. It opens your eyes to what you're going to get exposed to, what you're going to be involved in the process. And again, the process is the same on every project. The only thing that changes is, the team and the personality. So the process is the same. So check out my 7 simple steps and enjoy your process. We'll see you again next week.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Julie Laughton Living. For more information or to connect with Julie one-on-one, visit julielaughtonliving.com. And don't forget, it all starts with a good plan.